Hey, everybody, welcome to Toys Worth Talking About. I am John Carlos, and I am joined by artist extraordinaire and Kevin Smith fan, Chogrin.
Hey, Giancarlos, thanks for having me back again, man. Excited to talk Kevin Smith stuff today.
Very excited to have you on. Yeah. In fact, that was first how I really cemented your name was through the Guru Askew figure.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, it's funny. Like I'm glad to have reached out to people through the passions that I have, whether it's like my passion for Guillermo or my passion for Kevin, and hopefully through other future projects, to connect with people because I feel like it, especially the guru figure, it's for true Kevin Smith nerds, all the little references and Easter eggs and everything.
Oh yeah.
So.
N-
Uh,
Now,
and for those who don't know, like we're talking about this figure right here. So
yes,
that is the
yes,
Guru
we are
Askew. There we go.
on two screens.
Yeah, two of hearts. Um, yeah, no. So I guess I'll
Yeah,
start with.
how do you get on the path to eventually make it starts with fandom, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, let's talk about what I think the first time that you and I met in person was at a Clerks 3 premiere, right?
It was where they were
Yeah.
selling this guy.
There, yeah, that's right. It was the
And
black and white. The black and white version was an exclusive to the Clerks 3 Road Tour. So that was the only way you could get him because there's two other colorways which are still available. There's the flocked. What do we call this? It's basically the weed inspired one.
right.
And there, which I always say, if you have a Moss Man with Masters of the Universe, it looks very nice next to your Moss Man.
Yes.
And then there's the Readable edition, which is all red. Um, and those are available, I think, at janesilentbob.com and
I
sideshow.com.
I
Yeah.
was in Jersey a year ago and I saw the red one and snapped a photo and sent it to you. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, man. It's that was such a like first of all, I had always wanted to go to the secret stash because when I moved to LA, I think I got here too late and the stash here had closed.
Mm,
And then I didn't make it in enough time when I lived in Philadelphia. I always wanted to go to the stash in Jersey, but then by the time I got to the stash, they had already relocated to where they're at right now, which is like
mm.
across the street from their old
Yeah, it's just
so
like down the block a bit. Yeah.
but it was cool, kind of sort of like, oh, my first interaction with the stash was not only the new version, but it also like they were carrying like my Kevin Smith merch. So that was like really, it's one of those kind of pinch me moments. I was like, oh man, that's so super cool. So feel super super fortunate, and Kevin is such a amazing nice guy. You can tell that he's one of those creators that really cares about his fans, and I can see why they follow him, to victory every time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so yeah, you and I met like in person. I think we had interacted a couple of times like online, but the first time we ever met was at a big Kevin Smith nerd event at the Clerks 3, and that was super fun. I think you were wearing your Clerks 2 or your movies. I think it was the movies, maybe,
Uh
or maybe, or was
late
it?
no, but it's close. It's I hadn't made it myself, but it's the A to Z.
Oh,
I
oh,
have a
from
yoga
yoga.
hosers shirt.
Nice.
I wear
I've
that
always,
to most things and then I rotate whatever t-shirt underneath.
yeah, yeah.
But
I had,
I'm pretty, I don't
yeah.
want to say I'm ride or die, but like I really stick up for yoga hosers. And I get a lot of mileage out of that. That's like my go-to for Kevin's events. Because
I think
I want to represent because I feel like fucking no one does. So
I think it's a great concept, and I always just like sometimes every once in a while, like when I'm like really tired or I'm like in a certain state of mind, I just start saying "Wunderbar," like. So it is funny, and and I give credit to Kevin for just like just swinging for taking that
Swinging.
for taking that swing, man. Because Kevin doesn't get enough credit for the movie for the experimental movies like Red State and Tusk, and I mean, Kevin Smith did an A24 movie. Come on.
Yeah.
So
Before
yeah,
it was
that
cool too.
yeah before
There
they
weren't
now they
A24 memes yet, and like,
yeah yeah A24 I think has become so popular that I even thought I mean, not to get too off subject, but I even thought when I saw Poor Things the other day with Emma Stone, I thought that was an A24
oh
movie.
sure,
Yeah, but it's not. So
but it's got those vibes.
but that's how popular A24 has become, because I'm like, anything or that you watch that's basically not Marvel or like a franchise, I was like A24. So
But yeah, there's
yeah,
definitely in his weed era, there's a lot
yes.
more big, wilder swings, and I respect the commitment to like, all right, goalie golem filled with little sausage bratwurst Nazis, like, all right,
and
let's do it.
the fact that he was game to get in prosthetics to be in it, to I've always wanted to. I told him jokingly for his movie theater in Smodcastle. How an old movie theaters before the movie, they would have like, let's all go to the lobby. They would have like the concessions. I
Mhm.
said I wanted to like one like with the broad. So I don't know, maybe in the future we'll because I wanted to do inanimate objects. I actually, hold on, I think I might have drawn him and sent it to him. So this will be an exclusive. This is a book I put together of like all my Kevin Smith projects, and I kind of just put it together to kind of send to him as a thank you. And one of the things that I had drawn, yeah, here it is Let's Go to the Movies, but Kevin Smith edition. So you have the Hater Tots, you have the cow tipper, the Bratzi saying Wunderbar, and then a Movies soda drink. So, and then I also did a pack of
Salsa
nails.
shark.
Yeah, salsa shark, nail cigarette, and a chocolate covered pretzel. So, so I was like, yeah, that sells itself.
That's a
So when it,
genius. Because when you said the bratzi, I'm like, well, what else could you do besides that? And that, duh,
yeah, yeah,
covered
yeah, yeah.
pretzel. Also, let's all go to the movies
There you
as a
go.
jingle.
There you go. It sells itself. Actually, right? It's fun. Oh, speaking of jingles, this might come out eventually, but not the version that we did. This guy, that's in this band called the Antibodies. We did like a Monster Squad song because have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, that shouldn't have been a question. Uh, um, but I love my favorite part in the movie. My favorite character is Horace. Growing up, especially growing up, like being a bigger kid. You immediately identify to Horace. But my favorite part is like when he does the shotgun
Yeah.
cock, and
My
he's like,
name
it is
is
Horace.
Horace.
So I kept thinking like I wanted to either do some kind of project or something. But I kept singing "My Name Is Jonas" by Weezer, but instead of "My Name Is Horace."
I remember this.
Yeah. So me and this guy from the Antibodies, we collaborated, and I wrote like the first verse, but I just needed somebody. Like, I have so many projects, I was like, I need somebody to actually like sit down and record it. So I did the artwork, wrote some of the lyrics, and this guy actually went and recorded it. And then I was like, I was doing all these. I did all this artwork for that Kevin Smith club. It's Kevin's kind of like exclusive club for his fans. And I had done the logo, which is this thing. um, and then I was like, why don't we do, since it's kind of sort of like a Mickey Mouse Club, I'm like, why don't we do like a jingle? And essentially I pitched like, why don't we do like an LP, you know? I don't know if that you can see that very well. And
Yeah.
then I pitched like a whole like little, like, a member card, a sticker, a magnet, all that stuff. So, but maybe to TBD. So Kevin is a busy guy, and I consider myself lucky that he will sometimes even just say yes to like the crazy stuff that I just like say, hey, we should do this or we should do that. So yeah,
And
pretty.
I will say to those that are watching, this is a plug. Go watch the My Name is Horace video. It's pretty great.
Thank you. Yeah, and and actually, as by the time this comes out, maybe I coordinated when this episode releases, I'll release the jingle that we did for that Kevin Smith club.
Ooh,
I'm pretty sure that it won't be used for the current club just because they've added new tiers.
right.
And the one that we recorded was
The
you
old
know,
number of tiers. Yeah.
yeah, but it's still a really fun jingle, and I think we can still use it for the newer one. We just have to like, add the new tiers.
Yeah.
So and go ahead, sir.
No, you go ahead.
No, no, I said I'll send it to you after this episode.
Ah.
So
All right. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just say that Monster Squad, one of my favorite movies. Weezer, my favorite band. So that combination was it's great.
Yeah, I want to do I'm projecting here, and like, not to segue out of Kevin Smith's stuff, but I'm projecting. I really want to. Literally did that project just so I could do like my own like mini documentary for my love of Monster Squad. So I'm projecting for 2027 there will be some kind of Monster Squad project, whether it's an art show or something, but I'll try to incorporate that My Name is Horace song into it. So it will be used for something. If not
40th
enjoyed,
anniversary?
for the 40th, yeah, the 40th
Yeah,
is
okay.
in 2027. Yeah. The new 4K came out. You should get that and support
Oh,
it.
I
It's great.
did.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah.
Pre-ordered,
So
got it. Yeah, day one.
yeah. So anyways, yes. So before, I guess, like, it's gonna come up eventually, so I'll just get into it. I'll give my origin story of how I became a Kevin Smith fan, and like leading up to how I worked with him. So let's see if I can do this like really quickly and short. Uh, like a lot of people, I think either people started with Clerks. Which one did you start with?
Memory's fuzzy, but I'm 80% sure it's Clerks.
Okay. For me, because I lived in Ecuador, the kind of media that we got in the country, like I was a kid that was fortunate enough to have cable in my household, so I basically grew up with MTV, like everything that like the states got, like I got, we got. Um, but some things, like, got lost in translation, and it was basically, I think I skipped Clerks. And the first movie that I came across from Kevin was Mallrats. And that was like, I remember that was the definitive thing, because at that time I think I might have been like 10 or 11, and that's what me and my friends, that's what we did at that time. Like, our generation, we were kids, we would literally go to the mall, look at CDs, go look at Mad Magazine, look at the magazine racks, go to the comic shop. So to me, like, I immediately identified with that movie. And there's the one movie that me and my friends would watch over and over again, and it also talked about all these like different mature themes that probably shouldn't have been watching that movie like a 10 or 11, but it was like a movie that, like, became very near and dear to me.
Were
So
you also a nerd? Like, were you, because like Brody's, like almost everything he's talking about is comic books. Were you?
yes, I was a giant nerd. I at the time I was actually the my first comic book that got me hooked into the comic book world, because I had seen different comic books, and actually in Ecuador I don't remember really having a lot of access. So like, there weren't in Ecuador, like there weren't actual comic book stores from what I remember as a kid. Maybe there were, but there were like magazine shops and stuff like that kind of became like a thing because of malls. So at the magazine stores, I picked up Spawn, and Spawn was kind of like my big, like, sort of like gateway into comics. So I got really big into Todd McFarlane, so that kind of led me into getting, like, my first Spider-Man with some McFarlane Spider-Man. So yeah, I was very, so that kind of was, but I think Kevin was really kind of my first introduction to Stan Lee. So I found out
Same.
who Stanley, yeah. So which is cool, you think about it, like, we need people like Kevin and like generational people to kind of remind, like, to kind of say, hey, these are the people that kind of like did these things. And as Kevin likes to say himself, he kind of had his own like little cinematic universe, before the MCU and all that stuff. But I mean, but it was inspired from reading all those
Yeah.
comics growing up. So Mallrats was kind of like my movie, and yeah, it just hit all the right notes. I was like a comic book nerd. It was that time period where I was reading Spawn, but I was also reading a lot of Mad Magazine. I got into Mad Magazine during that time. um And yeah, I mean, like, just, when I moved, and then when I moved here to the States, I just kind of sort of kept following his career. And it wasn't until it was the summer of 2006. I moved to LA for I had an internship at Cartoon Network. And that summer, um, Clerks 2 came out, and that was one of the movies. There were several movies. I can tell you like three offhand that were like memorable in my head from that summer, because that summer will always be ingrained in my brain, just because so many crazy things happened. It was my first Comic Con, and I think we talked about this last time. It was my first Comic Con. I was meeting all my heroes at Cartoon Network, and then I Cartoon Network, for those who don't know, is like, rest in peace, by the way. The building is no longer Cartoon Network,
Yeah.
but Cartoon Network is on Burbank, on Third Street, and right down the street from Cartoon Network, is the AMC 16, which is one of the bigger AMC's in the area. And I swear to God, like, because I was basically living at Cartoon Network, I would go and just, when I wasn't living at Cartoon Network, I was living at AMC 16. So the memorable movies from that summer I remember were Nacho Libre, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. I quote that movie all the time. The second Pirates came out, the Dead Man's Chest, and then Clerks 2. And I think this might be crazy, but I might have seen them all in the same day. Um, like, I did like that theater hopping thing, where I was just like, probably shouldn't say this, I paid for one and then watched movies for the rest of the day. But you can't do that now with reserved seating. but
Reserve
but
seating killed all that for a whole generation of kids.
I
A
know.
generation of kids who are watching movies on their phone fucking anyway, so they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I just remember Clerks 2. I already knew, oh, that was the other movie. So for me, I guess I have to say pivotal moments in Kevin Smith. So Mallrats, then I moved to the States, and Dogma happened. And the reason I remember Dogma was because I literally remember, protesters outside of my movie theater, my small movie theater in Pennsylvania, in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. I remember like passing by in the car with my mom, and there were protesters like protesting Dogma. So it made me want to watch it even more. And I watched it, and I loved that movie. And then the high school movie, like, so Mallrats was a movie that kind of like was kind of sort of like skater, like early teen generation for me, like, that kind of hit, like, going to the mall. But then the other movie that kind of sort of like hit me at the right time, it was when I was like in high school, was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So that was a movie. That was a movie that me and my friends would watch like over and over again, and just laugh. Till this day, my favorite line is like, just like Winnie the Pooh. Uh, it's one of my favorite lines. And then like, it was like, and then fast forward, I was like in my college years doing so Kevin Smith was like kind of part of like his movies were kind of part of different like moments of like of me growing up. And then Clerks 2 was kind of sort of like what cemented like my love. Like, really, I was like, and it made me, this is gonna sound sacrilegious, but I had never seen the first Clerks
Oh,
before that.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then there was like this stupid ignorant part of me where I was like, oh, it's in black and white, like, which, like, now, like, if I would have met that version of myself back then, I would have slapped them in the face, because most of my favorite movies now are in black and white. So, but then I just kind of sort of, it was almost like rediscovering. It's kind of like, I always like to compare it to Metallica. And a lot of people like groan when I say this, but like my first Metallica albums were Load and Reload.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because a kid growing up in the '90s, especially in Ecuador, you don't have like,
Sure.
a lot. Yeah, you don't have a lot of access to like those things. So I did kind of the same thing. It's kind of like I did like a retro. So like, what, now my favorite albums are obviously the first three. What I call the trilogy Metallica. Um, but yeah, the same thing happened with Kevin's movies, and the Clerks movies like became like my all-time favorite. But Clerks 2, till this day, is my favorite Clerks movie. It just hits. It was a period in time. Also, I think it was that transition when not necessarily when you're in college, but it's one of those movies like when you're in a transition in life in general, it just hits you, and it reminds you to like do what you love. you know, and that, you know, that heartfelt speech that Randall gives to Dante at the end. I mean, just like it gets me every time. So, so bravo, Mr. Smith. It's one of, and the soundtrack of that movie is
Oh,
spectacular.
open with
It's
talking heads.
talking heads at the beginning. Even that. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. Is it the Smashing Pumpkins song when he sees he uses Harley's
Yeah,
cameo
Hartley's
when
in
she
the
waves
window.
it. Yeah. That it gets me, man. It gets me each time. I'm just like, oh, and
It's
and I mean,
got a fucking Michael Jackson dance number.
yes, the fucking musical. Oh my
So
God.
good.
Even, I mean, that's when, you know, Kevin was in that movie really kind of like experimented. Like he really kind of went out of his comfort zone because there's even it's that the musical number even has like a dolly shot, like zooming out. I was just like, what? What's the other thing? Oh, and of course the Donkey Show, man. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I remember seeing that in 2006 and I was like, I kind of looked around, I'm like, am I supposed to be watching this? This is fucked up. So and then of course a song that they use for it, which is one of my all-time favorite songs now. I just listen
Oh
to that
really?
soundtrack sometimes. Yeah, it's just hilarious. It's such a great song to go with that scene. It's so funny. So I always confuse it with Two of Hearts
Oh
because it kind of
totally.
has a kind of similar beat. I always think of Two of Hearts, ironically, with the movie Hot Rod.
Hot Rod. Yeah.
Yeah. When they're like dancing by the van and he pushes them. So, anyways, that. So I don't want to get into it, but you know, I think good soundtracks and good movies when they marry correctly, you will always like think of, you know, one or the
Forever.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So Two of
but
Hearts
yeah,
is always to me Hot Rod. Like
yeah,
yeah.
whiskey. Um, so yeah, no, man, like I actually talking to you, it's been kind of a great like little um you know, down the remember I'm remembering a lot of things. I was just like, oh man, yeah, like it's kind of cool to see like how each Kevin movie has you know, hit different parts of my life. And then when I came out here back to LA later in 2009, when I finished school, I started doing art shows. I worked with Gallery 1988 a lot, and I noticed that Kevin hosted a lot of shows there as
Yeah.
well. And so I always kind of kept thinking like I want to do something with Kevin. I want to do something with Kevin. And then in 2017, I had an opportunity to do it was a first for me. I got to design some underwear, which is, I mean, it's not really designing underwear. It's like I got to do a pattern, you know, like sometimes like shirts and things like that, you get to design a pattern that will be used like for the fabric. And it was none other than Jay and Silent Bob theme. So I don't have a sample with me, but I do have some that I think Kevin signed one for me. And I said, I'm like, I promise you, it's clean. It's never been used. So I will frame it someday because it was my first Kevin project, but it's essentially this. So for those of you who have it, it was kind of like my tribute of like the different versions of Jay and Silent Bob. So like that's like the Clerks 2 version because Silent Bob's got the pigtails. You know, Bluntman and Chronic. The versions from Dogma. I think this is, yeah, whenever they're wearing black, it's Mallrats, and then their first appearance and Clerks. And with that being said, you know, happy 30th to Jay and Silent Bob.
This is the
So,
year.
and speaking of, I'll bring these out.
Oh yeah.
So this is like what I like to call my my Steamboat Willie versions, but it's also kind of like an homage to the Mallrat versions because that's kind of like this is kind of the sculpture of the figures and the way like I designed it is what they're wearing actually in Mallrats. So Jay's wearing like a black shirt with those shorts with like the white like rim coming from underneath, and Silent Bob is, I think it's is the only time that Silent Bob wears like a leather trench
Yeah.
coat.
Like money
Yeah,
was spent by a studio.
yeah,
Like let's upgrade.
yeah. And then like in the back there, the little uh, neutral smiley face Easter egg. So
Yeah,
and so
I've got these because I know those had some colorways. So I've got, I mean, the lights wash them out a bit, but
no worries. Yeah,
because
that's the Jane Silent Bob exclusive colorway.
Yeah, which the color scheme is supposed to be strike back, right?
Right.
Like the
Yeah.
shorts are still like designed to be the shorts from Mallrats as far as the sculpt of them, but the color scheme
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. And I should say those are the exclusives to the secret stash. Sorry, I said exclusives to Jay and Silent Bob, but obviously they're the figures themselves are Jay and Silent Bob, but it's to the secret stash. So I
There
think
was
yeah, those
was there
are
three? There wasn't like a main
there were
color scheme, a black and white, and then this
yeah
color scheme.
there were six. There were six total. There was the
Shit.
black and there was the Mallrats, which is kind of similar to the black and white ones, but they have a little bit more. They're all their actually the Mallrats ones. They're all black. They're all their getup is black, and then Jay has like yellow hair, and Silent Bob has like the a gray hair. Then there's the ones that you have. The ones that you have, I think, might be reboot
Oh, that's
actually.
no. I'm sorry, I misspoke. They are because it's in reboot that he's got the light blue jacket.
That's right. Yep,
It's a
yep.
yellow jacket in Strike Back.
Yeah, and then there is a strike back version that has a he has a yellow shirt. Then we did like a cartoon one because the origin of these was going. You know, I'm glad I mentioned Gallery 1988. Gallery 1988 did a Mallrats I think 25th anniversary
Yeah, they did a
because
whole Mallrats show.
yeah, and I had already been I had already been this figure was already in progress at Sideshow. And I actually originally pitched the Marat figures at Sideshow and they passed on it. So I thought, well, how the art shows for me have been always very good because it pushes me to try new things. And a lot of things have come out of doing art shows. Like my Guillermo figure came out of doing an art show. So I was like, okay, I'll do the Mallrats toys as prototypes for this art show. And you know, after the art show, I was like, hey Kevin, you know, here's you know, I did these for the art show. Can we you know do a deal and do like a limited run and he was game for it. So I sculpted, I collaborated on that project with Beast Brothers and UBD Toys. So I'm thankful for those guys for
That's
collaborating with me on that.
interesting to me. Because their work, the output was great. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
in my brain, the Guru, the Guru Askew came out first, and then
Yeah.
these came out second. But you're telling me
Yeah.
that these were conceptualized first.
They were conceptualized around the same time. It's
Okay.
funny. It's funny because it started though the Mallrats started out as a series that I was pitching originally to Designer Con that were gonna be called Park Rats because Designer Con was doing started doing their shows in Anaheim. So I designed a character. I designed like basically it was kind of like you know doing my version of like Mickey Mouse but as a punk because what I've noticed what I started noticing the designer con each year, it was like you had a look of people that went to designer con, like you had the guys that had vests and they had all the pins on them and they like went and collected the vinyl toys. So I was like, I'm gonna create basically a like my version of a Mickey Mouse character, but a rat that's like you know that represents like you know us nerds going to designer con. So it started out as a park rat, and then I thought when the Kevin Smith show came up, I was like, oh yeah, I should do like Mallrats, like actual rat versions of Jay and Silent Bob. So that's how that came about, and it was all kind of like in the same window when I was designing the Guru Askew, and then in my brain, I was just like, but I was like, oh, Clerks 3, I think is coming out next year. So it'd be awesome if I have not just the Guru SQ, but I also have the Mallrats coming out. So it was like one of the like lightning moments where I was like, quick, I got to find somebody like that will like want to collaborate with me to do the Mallrats, and they all come out at around the same time. So, which I'm sure for a lot of Kevin Smith fans was like, dude, pace it out. So but and that's something I want to mention. Like Kevin Smith fans have been super like the some of the nicest people I've ever met. They have now become fans of my artwork, and have reached out to me different times, just saying like, you know, here's my figure in my collection and stuff like that. So it just melts my heart when I see stuff like that. It's great. So and actually. before we move on, I do want to. This is one of my favorite pictures, is seeing all the black and white versions together.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah. So,
Now,
but yeah.
there is a visual consistency between the two. I am not uh super well versed in art, so I don't know who exactly is the artist behind this. But when I look at these these eyes, when I look at
Mhm.
these eyes, I think Felix the Cat, and I think I want to say 1930s.
Yeah, it's inspired from the rubber hose style, which is from the late 20s, early 30s, and essentially it was a style. What they call those eyes, they call them pie eyes, and the reason they did it is to kind of sort of like give either the character direction to where they were looking, or it was kind of like an early version of like like reflection on the eyes. But it was more to show direction, like when they're like, because
Ah,
it was just kind of like, you have like these giant like ovals, so it's kind of a way like to, to pinpoint where a character is looking. So when you watch old cartoons, you'll see that the pie eyes sometimes, like especially if a character is looking one way, they will shift like directions. So I mean,
interesting.
at least in my experience, like as an animator for like, that's been like looking at stuff like that, but it changes because all, all the studios kind of like copied each other. It was kind of a thing. They all sometimes did different things with it. So yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to look at it and call them Pac-Man eyes.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people call them today. So yeah, whatever works. So I just love the aesthetic. I'm a big fan of the rubber hose time period. Obviously now it has exploded. It's had a resurgence with Cuphead, and there's another one I've seen that's like a video game. Um, yeah, and just like, there's a bunch of people that just draw. I don't like drawing specifically in that way. My stuff is just kind of more, of a mix of like things that I like Popeye and Astro Boy. So my stuff is definitely influenced by rubber hose, but it's not like what I like to call like proper classical rubber hose. It's definitely in my DNA for sure.
And
So
and also, I mean, as far as because I really like these, but it's one, and I have a few others in my collection that I consider this sort of thing, where obviously you've got like your Hasbro and Mattel, and then you've got like your more nerd focused companies like NECA, Funko, Hot Toys, etc. But there's
yeah,
always been what I consider like the art vinyl scene.
yes, it's
And
a very
a lot of comic book shops will have, or at least some of the ones that I went to in Orange County had like a whole section that was just, and I would walk in and just look at all this crazy shit that you could tell was like based on licensed things that were like a weird, like
yeah.
it's Mickey Mouse, but he's Stalin, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all the and these and there, but a lot of the ones that I liked always harkened back to an older era,
Yes.
and I like the fact that, I mean, Mall Rats is the joke, but there is to me like a precedent for like these style of faces feels like it fits as part of the vinyl retro
Yeah.
artistic scene, and
No, and it's cool that you've picked that up because the vinyl the like designer toy series has been going on. Like I'm definitely like a newbie into it, but it's been going on since like the late 90s. Like, guys like Frank Kozak, Mark Nagata. A book, if you want to, for people out there that want to get into the vinyl, one of the books that I picked up while I was in college is called I Am Plastic, and then I think there's a sequel called I Am Plastic 2, and I think there's a documentary, and a lot of those guys that kind of started like the movement are still very much in it, and are obviously now like, there's guys like Cause and um uh I'm gonna blank right now, but like, I consider myself fortunate right now, like to be doing projects alongside like people like Urban Aztec, Jesse Hernandez, Kano. Tracy Tubera, a lot of, a lot of these guys we were kind of sort of like in the sideshow, Unruly Industries era.
Mhm.
Unruly Industries is no longer a thing. Over at Sideshow is just Sideshow stuff. But I mean, I consider myself fortunate to have been a part of it for sure, and I have a couple of cool new toys coming out later this year as well. So hopefully, something actually, since we're on a Kevin subject, one that we unfortunately didn't get to make, and hopefully we will someday when the Mallrats toys sell out, is I we did pitch this movies vinyl. Um, and what's cool about this is that I would, movies is already such a classic, like rubber, like almost like, like a Mickey Mouse type character,
Yeah.
that I don't, for those that want like to see an Easter egg, and it's not really that big of an Easter egg, it's very prominent. But if you watch Dogma at the beginning with Matt Damon, and when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's character Loki and Bartleby, yeah, Loki and Bartleby are talking when they're going through the airport. You can briefly see like there's like a little movie stand or movie merch, and a guy is holding the a movie action figure. Yeah.
He's
That
totally
yeah
like
yeah
acting it out and everything. Yeah.
which I think is actually might be Brian from Practical Jokers before, not Brian, is that his name?
I forget which
I
one it is, but I know
I don't
goes
yeah.
back with Kev a long time, back with the
Yeah,
store, I think, the
yeah,
website.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think it's him because I recognize him. But I specifically wanted to do a toy of movie referencing that collectible because it was very much referencing when I was doing the Mallrats. This is the Mickey that you can kind of get at the park, which I like to call basic Mickey. And I wanted the Mallrats to kind of be very much like in that size and reference. So you
Oh
know,
yeah, I mean, the gloves. I mean, come on.
yeah. And the gloves is not
The nose
inherent.
placement. No, no, yeah, the gloves
Yeah,
have been used by many animated
yeah,
characters.
yes, but it's very, like it's become very iconic and part of Mickey for sure. But yeah, so it was really it's kind of funny, like, not to bring this up because this guy is all the rage right now.
Oh yeah.
So so I kind of, sorry, I lost a little bit of track where I was going, but I overall I just super fortunate, feel super lucky to have been able to just kind of get to do all these cool projects with Kevin. So yeah. But
So
now I remember. Sorry. So yeah. So just to end my point. So yeah, I was trying to the movie figure that I just showed was trying to kind of sort of like, it's in my style, but it was also trying to pay tribute to that first movie prototype toy that we see. Because ever since then, every movie, the movies that we've seen in the different movies has been very on model to the logo that you see and all this stuff. Dogma was really kind of the first time that the character was kind of sort of, I think it was drawn by Steve Purcell, which was one of I don't know if Ratface was Kevin's. I think he was like his production
production
designer.
designer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was a Philly guy too, because I
Oh
think
yeah.
because yeah, I think it was because of him that they
Or
got
was it
they
Baltimore? Anyway.
yeah. No, it's actually this is the perfect segue because this was another connection for me to Kevin, and I didn't have him as a teacher, but Dave Deneen was a teacher at my university, and one of the things he was known for at the time when I was going to school, or one of the stories they would always say is like, oh, he designed Buddy Christ for Dogma. So it was cool. Like, I never had him as a teacher, but like I met him once and I looked at his face and I was like, holy shit, you used your face as reference for the face of it's great. And anyways, Steve Purcell, like, actually from all that stuff from Dogma was actually kind of, it's become a really important movie just because, like, one of the first things that I pitched to Kevin, when we were kind of like in conversations of doing the toys and all this stuff, and that Kevin Smith Club, one of the first things I pitched to him is I really loved that boardroom scene in Dogma where they literally spit out like the movie origins, like it's the first time we hear like of Nancy Goldruff and all this stuff, and so I was like, I want to do like merch that's kind of sort of expands like the movie stuff, like the movie world, like I got
Like,
stuck on when he says bi-coastal theme parks. So yeah,
well, also,
sorry, go
and that,
ahead.
I mean, there is conceptual artwork that's shown in Dogma and I think Strike Back, but like he has his ancillary and secondary characters. He's got like Surly Duck and
Yes, exactly,
and
exactly.
Pat.
Pat
Can you
Pad, the Monkey King, and what's well, I did the
anyway,
cover right
I don't
here.
know if you,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah,
you're going to theme parks, but when the first half of your sentence, I'm like, oh, there's so many other characters you can do and play with.
play with. Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So like, what I'm trying to get to is, well, there's Enoch, the aardvark, and
Mhm.
little Eddie, the cat inside your mouth or something that cleans your teeth. Anyways, so what? So from that just like that little scene in Dogma, it inspired me to, and if I can find it here, sorry, making. Essentially did a movie world poster, and I was like, honestly just pitched it like as a. I took all those like Easter eggs, like all the origin, and I kind of just put it like in one piece of artwork. And oh, it's
And
not here.
this is the first thing
Sorry.
you pitched.
This is the first thing. This is one of the first things that I pitched to Kevin. Here it is, actually. Um, so this is the original artwork. I had pitched a movie guru as well, but that's maybe will happen someday, but probably not. So I this is the original art. It actually said movie world. It says Nancy Goldruff's movie world, and I even did like a little Epcot kind of like movie established in 1989. Sorry, my camera probably is super blurry. So as you can see here, then I did then this from what I remember, Kevin in some exchanges literally said like, oh, that's great. That actually inspired me to write a movie origin story. And when I did his podcast, I don't remember if this is part of the podcast or it might have been a conversation before. I was telling him about like I was expanding on my love for movie and about like about theme parks and about Disney and all that stuff. And I said, I'm a big fan of Ub Iwerks and how I feel like Ub Iwerks doesn't get enough credit.
Mhm.
I think Walt is a genius, but I feel like that there are many statues of Walt, there should be one statue of Ub at least to show him as like as a co-creator. Like my dream is to see a statue of Walt, Mickey in the middle, and Ub, like Mickey's two dads. But essentially, I was talking about this, and I said it would be cool. I said if like you kind of did a movie or a story where it was just kind of sort of about sort of like the creation, about this stuff. So lo and behold, then it was like a year later, he reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, that artwork that you did for Movie World." He's like, I want to do it as a comic book cover and lo and behold, he wrote a movie origin story, which obviously I had nothing to do with the story. He came up with that completely himself. But I love that I was able to be like a small little part of like the inspiration. So this just came out a couple months ago, and the artwork got repurposed for that. And as you can see, it didn't change that much.
Yeah, when you held
So
up the book, I'm like, I know that artwork. I've seen it from issue number
yeah,
1 of the new series. Yeah.
and I was actually able to reuse. I'm pretty sure I'm like the only one that got to do this because I pitched it to Dark Horse when I was doing it. Because the wonderful thing about working with Kevin sometimes is just kind of sort of like as long as like nothing sometimes is too sacrilegious or anything like that. And my attitude is always like, well, it's always if you ask, you might get a yes. And I said, can I do a double, like a full spread cover? So for those who have this, it's actually a full spread, and as I was able to reuse some of my stuff from my original artwork. So you still see Nancy Goldruff's movie world. There's the little Epcot thing, movie thing established in 1989. And then I, of course, had to include the bi-coastal theme park thing. So, and I even put like, it even says like copyright Complex Corp 1991. So,
I
so I went like,
love that this one little line that got stuck in your head from a fucking 1999 made its way to like imprint in an official capacity, like in a comic. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like I'm obsessed with branding and like, theme park characters and stuff
Oh,
like that because it's just part of my DNA. It's just like like I grew up going to both Disney World and Disneyland. So and in general, like any kind of stuff like like iconic characters, like one of my favorite, I have books on just like, mascots for cereals and branding in general. So I as a fan of Kevin's stuff, I was just like, this stuff that you have already is not, I don't feel it's getting enough. Like, we should do more stuff with it. We should like, as a Kevin Smith fan, I was like, I want to have shirts of these characters. Yeah. And I drew them. Hopefully I will get to make more stuff with these guys, but like, I drew them kind of like in that walking pose as well. There's Pat and Enoch and there's Surly. I even was gonna pitch a buddy rat version at one point. But yeah,
can you
I don't mind.
show me the lower? Yeah, I want to see Ranger Danger and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to do like a big like 12-inch Golgothan that would be like bigger, like there would be like a behemoth like to all of them. And if I get to make this someday, this is one I really want to make because I want to make it like him. I want to have like all Kevin Smith like stuff like gooping out. Like I want a Moobies toy and all these things. Like kind of, have you seen that Peludo toy from Troma, the Toxic Avenger friends? But it's basically like a Godzilla that's like, and he's got like all these like little like trash pieces all around. So I was thinking if I did a Golgothan, I would definitely have like all these like I would try to fit in like all these like like a package of cigarettes of nails or like a movie toy and stuff like that. It'd be kind of cool to do something with that character. So
I mean, yeah. First of
yeah.
all, Go Gotham, of course, but I mean, there's you did a vulgar concept. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I would love. Trust me, I would love to do a vulgar in black and white like this.
yeah,
So, but I don't. It's such a. I don't want to say it's a deep cut because it's like
yeah.
you.
But I
It
mean, I don't want to say it's niche, but like, yeah, when you talk about View Askew and Kevin Smith and Jay and Silent Bob, you know what probably sells a lot? Jay and Silent Bob. Probably
Yeah,
wouldn't sell as where if you have to invest and the company would have to actually make the logo that comes out for 10 seconds.
yes, yeah. That was and yeah.
Diehards would buy it though.
That's a thank you for that segue because I also got to do the new VSQ logo. So, uh, that if like out of all the things that I did that year, the cherry on top was getting to see this thing up on a big screen.
Right? Come
So
on.
that I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like when I saw Clerks 3 for the first time, a tear came to my eye. I was like, it was pretty dope. So I will say it on record here and for future interviews, but thank you, Kevin. You've been wonderful. So yeah.
It's nice
I,
to hear that you're using the word wonderful here.
well,
Sometimes
I've been able to check off a lot of things on my list of things that I've wanted to do as an artist because Kevin is wonderful enough to trust artists with what they do and what they do best and let them play with his characters. And I think there should be more creators that are like that. I think it strengthens and makes their brand more makes them last longer. So
well, I'm just happy that, you don't have a never meet your heroes story. Like, as a
no,
fan of his, I've met
yeah,
him a few times, but there's a very public Kevin Smith. But
yeah.
I'm not asking for details. I'm just happy that whatever private conversations you've had, you're not like, dude,
I think I've
difficult to
already I
work
think
with.
no, I think I've said this before, but I'll say it on here. one of the sweetest things moments that I was able, to witness was is I did a podcast. This was one of those moments where like I seriously like I could not believe it. Like I was like I think in the back of my head I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Um, I had already been talking with him about doing all these projects and merch, and I got ballsy enough to be like, because he was doing this podcast series called Film School Fridays,
Yeah.
and I noticed he had done one, I think, on the Licorice Pizza movie, and I heard he was gonna do like the Guillermo del Toro movie at the time was
Oh,
Nightmare
Nightmare
Alley.
Alley. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just was like, I just threw it out there. I was just like, hey man, I'm a fucking huge Guillermo fan. And if you don't have anybody to talk Nightmare Alley with, I'm like, I'm your guy. So like, I think it was like 3 excruciating hours later, I got a message saying like, yeah, come on down, and I was just like, holy shit. So that was insane. And I got to go up to his studio, or his house I should say, and record an episode. And one of my biggest regrets till this day is he offered me a blunt, and I think I was so fucking nervous that I didn't take it. And of course now, I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's in a
Mhm.
better place. He's no longer smoking. Not that weed is a bad thing, but I
Do whatever you
wish
got to
there was.
do to be right and healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's a part of me I was like, oh man, I should have smoked a blunt with Kevin.
Just to say that you did.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it still had a wonderful, fucking wonderful time. It was hard. I mean, I haven't listened to the episode since. I'm sure I say some dumb, embarrassing things in it, but for the most part, like it was surreal. It was surreal to be talking with one of my heroes about one of my other heroes. So it was just like, holy shit, what is happening?
That was
So
like a year or two before we ever started like kind of talking
yeah,
socially, like online.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
remember, but I already knew who you were. And I remember being impressed. Like it was a good
Thank
episode.
you.
It was a good
Thank you. 2020, I will say this till I die. 2022 was officially my Kevin Smith year. And not only did I do two toys with him, did a podcast, and then did the at View SQ logo. I was also 37 that year. I changed,
Hey,
so it was pretty perfect fucking timing. So
I didn't realize. Yeah,
I
that was 2020,
2022.
22. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that wasn't that much before than we were talking then. But yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
because I think the Clerks tour hit like in the fall, right? And then like I think when you and I met, it was like a December screening. It was like the
Yep.
first screening in LA.
But we had been
Uh,
talking for months before that about vinyl figures.
yes, yes, yeah. That's why, because I had reached out to you because I had seen your Diamond Select reviews. Because you were one of the only people that I saw on YouTube that had done like actual like a consistent like reviews of Kevin Smith figures. So I reached out to you saying like, hey man, like when my figures come out, can you review them? And I said like I have this, I have this, I have this, and like, but like I'm like, but keep it secret. They're not coming out yet. so,
Yeah, oh
so it
yeah,
was
because
like
there was like dates for the
yeah.
like all three versions of this guy did not come out at once. And
Yeah, they were timed. They were timed. So the last one, of course, is the one that I think mostly everybody has, is the black and white one. But I love seeing them together. I love seeing these together, the red and green, because it's like, so festive. Um
oh yeah,
so but yeah, man. So hopefully, there's like I've got a couple of other things like that in the works with Kevin. So hopefully, we'll do a couple more things in the future. But man, like, just stoked to have been able to just like be like a little tiny like part of the VSQ history and universe. So yeah, very very thankful, very thankful. Kevin is a great dude.
That
Can't
is,
can't say can't say nice not, can't say like uh more good things about him. He really is like the real deal. So
I love to hear it.
yeah.
Really warms my heart to hear it. That you had such a good experience too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Highly recommend. Would do again.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I love about the Guru Askew, by the way, great name.
Oh,
I,
thank you.
I feel
Thank
like
you.
once you hit on Guru, right? Guru del Toro, got it.
Yeah.
Askew, oh, it rhymes. I feel like any ones you do in the future, you got to hope that it fits in some way. But I
Yeah.
love, I'm even though I myself am not an artist, I am friends with artists, and sometimes when concepts happen, you have a lot of fun spitballing. Oh, what if this? Oh, what if that did? And if that went? Oh, what if it was? I have to imagine you had a lot of fun time going. All right, 6 arms.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's do that. Let's
What
do that.
like what? First of all, in my opinion, perfect choices.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll tell you a story that I could probably talk about now because like it was I had a behind the scenes one like little diva moment because for a long time this arm I kept like kind of wanting to make this hand a cock knocker hand holding the light,
Ah,
but I'm glad the studio Sideshow was very wonderful to work with back and forth with this. So they just kept telling me like it's a great idea, it's a great Easter egg, but it would just make unbalance. It would just unbalance the figure, and they were right.
oh.
It
I
would have it
thought
would yeah.
I thought you were gonna push. They were gonna push back because he's holding a dildo, and that might have been a thing. But
Well, if I would have pitched it that way, they probably would have. It would
no, but
absolutely would have said no. But
the big no. But you're right though. The big fist would have fucking thrown things off probably a bit.
yeah, yeah. So there was I think I did like 10 different sketches, like combinations, like with stuff with different, on different arms. So I think I have like 20, I think total like actual, like good looking sketches. I think I did like 10 different versions with and it was actually through this guru that I figured out something that I'm applying to a lot of my new guru designs, which is the middle hands, the middle two arms are great to do kind of these longer things.
Hmm.
So if for when I come back and I talk about some of the new stuff coming out this year, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. We can reference to this conversation. But the Kevin Guru was at first, I'm not gonna lie to you. As a designer, it was a huge pain in the ass because like the Guru del Toro had been so great because all his arms kind of morphed into stuff.
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah,
arms were things.
yeah.
These are
So
holding things.
but because Kevin is like such a jack of all trades, and he's so specific. I had to design it in a way where it wasn't none of these Guru figures are ever symmetrical because it has to be different things. But I do try to have some kind of like um harmony going on, so like for the top, for the bottom two arms I wanted to make sure that like the length was as out as so there's not really it all represents all the things that kind of that he is. So you've got the clerk script, which it will always be his origin. He will always reference that. Then I have the megaphone, or the director. What do you call it? What's another name for it? Uh,
Bullhorn, megaphone. Yeah.
Speaker. Yeah, bullhorn. That's good. Yeah, bullhorn. And then I have like some swearing there, because Kevin swears. And then it was weird for a long time. I was like, do I have the bullhorn and then the microphone? But I was like, yeah, because this is kind of more directing and this is more like podcasting.
Yeah, and I love
So
that
there,
it's writer, director, podcaster. It's all
yeah,
there.
yeah, and like obviously the blunt saber, which also I feel represents two things, not not just blunt man, but his love for Star Wars. And then of course I had to have Jay in it somewhere, so I was like, of course I'm gonna make Jay a little puff of Jay. So I that's why it looks like Jay on top. He's got a little beanie with his hat, and then of course Mubi, because um And the cherry on top for me, as I was designing it, because he's wearing a jersey underneath his Silent Bob coat. But for me, the cherry on top was because of his heart attack. I thought it would be neat to give him the Buddy Christ like heart
Yeah,
in the middle.
I just thought it was a Buddy Christ reference. I didn't ever consider the heart attack as a.
I mean, like, I think even without the heart attack, I probably would have put the Buddy Christ, just because Kevin is such a, like, lovable, like, and he does, he wears his heart on his sleeve. But to me, after the heart attack, it even had more significance. So I definitely was definitely thinking about the heart attack afterwards, and how he survived and made out of it.
I didn't
And
even
of course,
consider that. Yeah,
yeah. And then of course
Mallrats
the
hat.
the Mallrats had also the Blunt Man.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, there you
if you want to read into like specifically movie specific things, you could argue that the hat is from Mallrats, the Bong was from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You've got movies, but it
yeah.
also all kind of plays out not as movie specific, because
Yeah.
movie has been around for various things, and the Bong Saber can represent the movie, but also Bongs, but also Star Wars, and also Mubi went on to become like a real pop up
Yeah.
experience. So he's also an entrepreneur when it comes to that.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, I was like, there was a part of me, I was like, I legit hope they open like a real one. But I mean, technically the pop-ups were real ones.
Yeah.
So they were just like, limited time. Now, if I what I love about this is that I feel like this is kind of like a time capsule. This really represents what I like to call or original Kevin Smith into late 2000s Kevin Smith. And I feel like this figure could probably get a sequel in the future. And if
Oh
I did
yeah.
the sequel, I wouldn't put him in the trench coat anymore. I put him in a sports coat, in the sports coats like he wears now, and I probably give him a movie hat. And then I'd probably remove any weed reference.
Mhm.
And then kind of remix it around. I probably make sure that the fucking cock knocker hand is in there somewhere. So, so,
Find a way
but
to make it the hand hollow.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you're thinking like toy production. Exactly. But no, very proud of this piece. Very proud that Sideshow basically let me do what I wanted. And very proud of the Mallrats too. The Mallrats was such a, like, I don't want to say lightning in a bottle, but it was one of those, like, kind of like, oh no, duh. Like, I need fucking rat figures of Jay and Silent Bob,
Yeah.
because my hope was to then kind of do Brody and do like the whole gang from Mallrats as rats. So,
Oh my
which
God,
it
that would have been amazing.
give Brody like a mouse trap as a skateboard. So, but
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, because
yeah.
they don't. I mean, they don't need accessories, but I love that the Silent Bob one came with the little VHS tape.
Yes, that was actually an idea that Ernesto, one of the Beast Brothers, threw in at the last minute when we were doing the gallery show. Because in the original gallery version, they had sculpted the two figures based on my notes and designs, and they kind of, like, as an Easter egg, they threw, because it was Mallrats, they threw as anybody knows watching Mallrats, the VHS tip is very much a thing towards the end of the movie. So he threw in a VHS tape, and I think Jay, had a baggie of weed. So obviously we didn't do the baggie of weed with Jay, but we did the VHS tape did make it to the release of the toy.
I mean, you're talking skateboard for Brody. My brain goes to either a little white Dixie cup or chocolate covered pretzel.
Yes, and one thing I want to point out for Kevin, since we're, yeah, obviously Kevin Smith nerds are going to be watching this. One thing I want to point out is when I designed the logo for the packaging, I very much wanted to do pay tribute to, it's kind of a Clerks thing, the original Clerks logo, but each letter for different toy things. So, I like when people kind of, and because I was working on both toys at the same time with different toy companies. I also did the same branding for the Guru.
Oh,
So so that was fun. Um, so yeah, I love this shot of all three together.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
pretty fun. Um,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that I really liked about the toys, besides the toys themselves, especially for people who like to collect things in box, is the design
mhm.
of each
Yeah,
individual box, but the fact that they could either this way or if you rotate them the other way.
yeah. I wanted to give people different display options if they wanted to keep the box or whatever, or if they wanted to use the box as like a backdrop for the figures.
I love it. And this is
And I,
this came from your brain too?
yeah, well, that illustration was
Well, yeah.
actually I sold when we did the art show. Not only did we sell the prototypes, I actually sold like a giant wood print of them in
I
that
remember that
pose.
at
Yeah, yeah,
Gallery
yeah.
88, right?
At Gallery 88. And so I
Yeah.
was like, I'm just gonna use the same artwork as for the packaging. So because that's what the designs are based on. So yeah, and I tried to make the packaging kind of sort of like this, sort of make it look like it was all taped together and like kind of have like a 90s like backdrop. So listening to a lot of the squirt gun and like the
Yeah.
Mallrats soundtrack. So I feel like that song has not just become synonymous with Mallrats, but it's just like Kevin Smith in general, like do do
Oh
do do
yeah.
do 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 do
They
do
well
do
they
do.
the second Jane and Bob go to the mall in reboot,
That's
show
right.
that coordinate tells you everything you need to know. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So here's kind of a cool spread, like where you can kind of see this is the mall this is the true OG Mallrat colorway edition where I feel like besides maybe Silent Bob's yellow shoes, it's kind of sort of like the true colors of what they look like in the movie. So you know and I love that we were able to throw in the an actual real earring in the figure
Yeah.
for Jay. So and before I forget, for those interested in more Easter eggs, I did a dissected anatomy version of the Guru Askew, which I was hoping to also make into a toy, but we'll have to wait and see in time. But for now, there's like this illustration version that I did where like there's Iron Bob. um I did like this like gut version of him, and I did I thought I was going to put stop on the stop sign, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to say start, because that's where he got his start. I mean, it's kind of corny. Not a lot of people are gonna get it. And I also was thinking about the heart attack because he got a restart, in his life. But I was like, I'm sticking to it. I think it's good because that's where he got his start, was a quick stop. So some people will get it, some people won't. But so you can see there's actually the end of a hot dog, a nacho, and a hamburger. So they all kind of like, that's the cow tipper. The hot dog is the bratzi, and he's saying wunderbar. Uh, the tostito is like the salsa shark, and then there's a pretzel in a bag. I for hardcore Kevin Smith fans, I actually included the hockey. It's a hockey stick. It's a hockey stick, but if you look here, I know probably can't pick it up well in the camera, but it's the logo for the official Kevin Smith Hockey League. It's called, I think it's the VSQ. It's like VH something. I mean, it's there. It's there. I should probably just look at it. It's like so small. It's the VASHL. So the VSQ something something Hockey League. And then I even included like the first typewriter that the Smith Corona, which Kevin
Right.
wrote Clerks. I mean, I went fucking deep cut. Like
Yeah, that
what
whole artwork is deep cuts.
I rewatched like all the fucking making of documentaries. Sometimes I watch some of the making of documentaries of Clerks and Clerks 2 more than the actual movies because they're so fucking inspiring about just kind of making your own shit and making shit happen. So yeah, the Smith Corona. I had at that point in time, I had not designed my own version of Vulgar, so it was the original Vulgar, which I think was drawn by Walter Flanagan. So this and then I included the Buddy Christ heart actually says 1994 there, which is when Clerks came out, and then the Unruly logo and my logo. And I'm trying to think if I missed any other Easter eggs. Oh yeah, the nail cigarette lighter, and then the Tusk from Tusk. So
Very
yeah,
comprehensive.
I tried. I knew I had to have the Bratzies in
Yeah,
there
I was gonna say
somewhere because
you go
this
all the way up to a Bratzi, so yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah, and then of course this I had this as reference. So love this.
have one
Uh
myself.
yeah, they're great. So yeah, man, I think I kind of covered it all. I think, this was actually really fun. It was almost like a Kevin Smith therapy session. Um, but in a good way. I shouldn't have said therapy
Yeah.
session, like a Kevin Smith celebration.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but a therapy session in a good way that like, hey, look at all the cool shit I did. Fuck, I've done a lot of good stuff. Fucking punch myself in the arm.
Yeah, man. Well, and
Especially when
actually,
you tell me, you're watching Mallrats in Ecuador and in the fucking 90s and
yeah. No, dude, I appreciate
where
that. Thank you. It means a lot. And since you say that, I might as well fucking just say, and I did 2 issues, so this is the first one. This is the first volume of Quick Stops. It's I did issue 2 where it's like I guess you find out that Randall and Brody are cousins, which makes
Mhm.
total sense. Makes total sense, and it's when Randall goes to the funeral. It always fucks me up that Mallrats come is like the
Is the day
first
before.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's technically in the timeline. It's the first movie.
It's the Temple of
So
Doom to Raiders. Like
it,
it's
yes,
like they don't
absolutely.
because neither one makes it explicit that this is a prequel. They both
Yeah,
just sort of if you go, oh hey,
yeah,
oh, Julie
exactly.
Dwyer just died, but in Clerks she was dead. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how like the exposition dump that she gives him, like it's like, yeah, she's like, what does she say? Like, yeah, all those fat jokes and stuff like that got to her head and she's dead now.
Yeah. You remember she had the fattest ass.
It's terrible. Yeah, no, so I mean it's kind of fun to have been able to do 2 different things for both, and also color wise. So I'm kind of hoping, since I did a number 2 issue and a number 1, I'm kind of hoping, depending on how many, I don't know if this is going to go for any more volumes, but I like to do things in threes. So
Mm.
I'm hoping to do one more for the next for volume 3. Love to come back and do one more cover. So we'll see.
3 Guru Askews, 3 covers would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, man, thanks for having me, and thanks for
Yeah.
letting me barf all my Kevin Smith love.
Barf all over my face, neck, and chest. I want to hear all the Kevin Smith stuff.
That was a great ref.
Yeah.
I love that you. That's great,
Oh, I
great.
can
Yeah.
37 Jeff's Kiss and all that shit if we wanted to, and it'd just be a quote-a-thon of.
I bet we were. Have you gone to the Fat Man Beyonds at the Scum and Villainy?
Surprisingly, no, which is
Okay.
dumb because I live in LA County and it's not
Mm,
far from me.
yeah.
The problem is 99% of the time they do it, it's on a night I work.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes when I find out about like, oh, there's one like I'll look, I'm like, oh, it's already sold out. The only one I did technically was Mark's had like it was sort of a release party, but for Adora,
Mm.
for his
Oh, yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah.
They
Yeah,
did just
great.
like they just did like a free night. We're like, come on down. I'm gonna be here. I'll sign books. And they ended up the 2 of them going behind the counter. They actually like did it live, but it wasn't like Fat Man Beyond where here's tickets that are sold and it
Right.
was just show up. And I happened to be free, so I showed up. It was cool being
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
space.
I almost went that night because I was just like gonna ask you. I was like, I wonder if you and I have like, it's kind of cool, like just like talking about all these different nerd events. Because like I think last time we did this, we discovered that you and I, it was both our first Comic Con in 2006 that we went to.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, I
Yeah.
was like,
We would
I
not
what?
have been at the same podcast. I've been to several Hollywood Babylons.
Okay,
Um,
went to one in Burbank at the Flappers once last year. But yeah, I don't know if we were in the same.
I went to the pre-flappers. I went to about two when they were doing John Lovitz. Then I've been to like two or three when they were doing a bunch of the improv.
Okay, very cool.
But I think you and I, if anything, because it wouldn't have been. I know you. I remember you were at a Hollywood Babylon when you came up and he put you on the mic and talked.
Yeah, well, that was like it was a weird, it was still kind of sort of like after pandemic times. So it was weird like trying to um do like actual commercials with of the toy, and schedules and stuff like that. So I just thought like, what's the best way for me to get like just get the
Word
toy,
out.
the word out. And that was like that was the best thing. So I'm glad that I did that. So yeah, it was
Yeah, I remember watching,
it,
going, "Hey, I've been talking to him about these things."
it,
There he is. I don't think if we were at any of the same things and didn't know it, it would have been like, kind of like with the Clerks 3. Like I same theater. I went for Reboot.
yeah.
When Red State was doing the tour, I went to Red State when it was in LA when they did Q&A with the cast.
Yeah, what was like I feel like the only one he didn't do that was for Tusk, right?
Yeah,
Because
Tusk
because
and oh yeah, because Yoga Hosers had one.
yeah, I think that because he started with Red State, correct? Doing the tour, touring
Started
it.
with Red State. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I
Didn't
think
do
I
Tusk
think
because Tusk had like a full A24 theatrical release.
real release, but all the other ones have been like on tour with him. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I think is a great touch because that's how like, old school Hollywood directors used to do their movies.
Yeah. No, the old
So
Roadshow. Yeah, yeah. Which
yeah,
Quentin kind of did a little bit with Hateful Eight. But
yeah.
no, yeah, Yoga Hosers didn't have a tour, but what it did was it had the Fandango event.
Oh, gotcha.
And then it had a limited theatrical event outside of Fathom. So yeah, he went from Red State, skipped Tusk and Yoga Hosers, then did Reboot and Clerks 3.
Yeah, and Clerks 3 had the tour and Fathom events.
Yeah,
So which was cool,
which I
which was
did.
cool to
Yeah,
yeah, it was
Clerks
cool to
3.
see.
Clerks 3. I did. I saw it three times. First one was it's still probably no offense to the other ones I did, but this is probably the coolest one just because I went to he had just bought the Atlantic Highlands movie theater.
Oh, nice,
So I
nice.
knew that it was going to become Smodcastle, and about a month or two later, all the branding changed. But
Right,
that
right.
was a big thing for me to be in Atlantic Highlands, in his movie theater, watching Clerks 3, and then going down the street to the Playhouse and then driving over to Quick Stop and all that.
Oh, very cool.
And
That's the
then
one thing.
and then we did
Go ahead.
the live show that you and I went to. And then just
Okay.
to do it again, I'm like, oh, Fathom Events. Let's go see this again for a third time without a massive audience laughing at every single reference, just actually like hearing the movie and
Was
experiencing
it
it.
was it the one we saw in LA? It was the Ace Hotel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was like such a because I that was I think my second time watching it, and it's just it was still kind of such a magical like because that theater itself is just like you look around, you're like Jesus, like I feel like I'm in a cathedral, like
Great
you know.
old space.
Oh, and like since this is basically like Kevin Smith Jizz Fest, I have to mention when my first issue came out, I went to this that was pilgrimage to the Quick Stop. I actually kept my little um I have it framed somewhere here,
So
but so
you brought your what?
my comic book. So when my
Okay.
first comic book came out last year, I went. It was my first trip to the to Quick Stops to the Secret Stash, and I had stopped to Smod Castle when it just got its branding. I sadly have not seen a movie inside Smod Castle, so that's on my still on my to do list. I'll probably go and do one of those crazy Clark marathons that he does, or catch some other cool event that he does. He's been doing a lot of cool stuff there. But what I would since we brought up Cathedral, what was really cool is when this issue just came out in December, I was visiting family in Pittsburgh, And I was actually bummed. I was bummed that I wasn't going to be in Jersey to go to the secret stash and get my, and stop by and get my issue. But I thought, I'm like, wait, wasn't Dogma shot?
Mhm.
Wasn't the church scene shot here in Pittsburgh? And I was like, and then it kind of like came to me. I was like, oh my God, things happen for a reason. And the fact that that Dogma was kind of the movie that made this artwork happen anyway, I was like, it's meant to be. So I was home because my sister had a new baby. So congratulations to my sister, beautiful
Yeah.
baby. Yeah. But when we had a little moment I was running errands with my mom. We had a moment to escape, and I'm like, I knew my issue was coming out. It's like, all right, let's go see if I can find one of my issues. And thankfully, comic book shop had it. And then I was like, let's go see if we can find that church. And it was like, I think it was like a 15-minute drive from the comic shop. It wasn't that bad at all. And that church is actually now I forget the name of it, but it's actually shut. It's closed now. I think it's considered like a historical monument or like a historical space. So I don't think they're not allowed to like destroy it. But it's basically like gated. It's gated off.
Oh,
But
boo.
it was still cool to like get in front of it and like hold my issues. So it was kind of like a full circle moment. So it was pretty cool.
But no,
uh
that's cool. Yeah, I'm just sad that like you can't, because I love, and if anyone follows me on Instagram, you probably know this. I love going to movie locations and trying to recreate the same shot, and I'm just sad that
yeah
I can't
y-
stand on the steps where like Ben Affleck's, walking down, and
yeah, or yeah, because even Alanis Morissette is yeah, there's a lot of shots because doesn't
I
what's
think it's
his
where
name
Carlin, like the
I
whole
always
unveiling,
I always call him Rufus because of
the
Bill and
Cardinal
Ted.
Glick. Yeah.
Yeah, Cardinal Glick. Yeah. He's giving he unveils the Buddy Christ campaign. That's right. Yeah. That movie is great. I hope that movie gets a proper awesome release and people don't have to pay $200 for it on eBay.
I am one of
So
the lucky people who bought it on DVD and on Blu-ray when it
what
initially came out, and
good.
yeah,
Isn't there like an extended cut of it?
nope.
I'm gonna plug the Kevin Smith Club. I think if you join the Kevin Smith Club, wink wink, there might be special thing there,
Ah,
a special thing there you
yeah.
can watch. So
There's no public like extended cut that's on a DVD. Yeah. There's just the old
yeah,
theatrical.
yeah.
The
So
only thing of note that's slightly different from the theatrical cut. It's the same cut, but when and this used to happen a lot back in the day, there would
yeah,
be and I'm talking about late 90s and maybe just the first year of the 2000s. Is studios would do two editions of a movie. They maybe and they would time them. So
okay,
Dogma was one of these where they released Dogma
yeah,
and there's just the fucking movie. That was it. And 6 months later, they're like, well, now we're producing special features, and the special edition would come out later. Tarzan was the
mm,
same thing. And a lot of times, at least Disney would say, hey, here's the date for the regular edition. Here's the date for the upcoming special edition,
yeah,
2 disc fancy set. And so anyway, I remember I was gonna buy the special edition of Dogma, but my parents hadn't seen Dogma, so we still rented the regular single disc edition. And
mm,
it had the widescreen presentation on one side, and
okay.
it had the
Oh,
format
that's right.
screen on the other.
That's right. That's right. They had those fucking discs back in the day. You could
It did
do.
widescreen
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
standard. Now,
yeah.
there's two ways, depending on how you shoot your movie. If you're shooting on like Super 35, you're either filming using the entire frame and then
Hmm.
matting it in post or in the theater itself,
Yeah,
or you're compressing the image and then decompressing it when you're projecting it. So
right.
they did the open matte filming for it. So
Okay.
there's a lot of movies, that we grew up with. Like everyone grew up with like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right? And how when it's
Yeah.
the chain out of the bike, you can see the chain underneath.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
originally
Well,
framed in theaters not to see that, but when you grew up with that on VHS, when they would dump the entire 35 millimeter image on video, you're seeing
yeah.
things you weren't meant to see. And I'll never forget watching Dogma.
Oh man.
By the way, that's also why sometimes when you used to go to see a movie and you'd see a boom mic in the
Oh,
frame
that's right. That's
because the
right.
fucking 16-year-olds in the theater didn't frame it right. So
Oh,
I'm watching Dogma. I've already seen it like 2 or 3 times in theaters. But when Atlantis, she gets a little bit of Ben Affleck brain on her, and she goes, "Ah," and she rips off her costume. There's a whole other outfit underneath.
yeah.
In the fucking standard edition, you could see a little dude in the corner of the frame holding a string, and you see him like you see him yank it.
That's
I'm like, what was
great.
that?
Oh,
That
that's great.
I always
Uh,
meant to go back and buy that, like when Blockbuster was selling their used movies for $3 or $4, and even that DVD I'm sure costs hundreds of dollars now.
yeah,
But that
yeah,
standard edition where you see the guy pulling the cord,
yeah.
right?
Speaking of, here's a little cool Easter egg to kind of circle back. At the end, how Alanis holds the USQ Bible and
Mm-hmm.
she closes it. The actual like they use like this, I think like a plate, like a metal plate for like the Bible, because I think the Bible says USQ universe.
Yeah, it says,
Yeah,
I think it just says, the ASKEW universe.
yeah, and I think it's got vulgar
Mm-hmm.
on there. But the actual metal plate that they used for that, because I think it's like embedded or something. It's like it's got like a gold finish. Kevin, that was one of the cool things, like to be in his office doing a podcast and just kind of seeing it like in the corner of my eye. I think after we were done, I was like, is that I'm like, was that used for? He's like, yeah. He's like, that's the thing that we used, like, for the US Universe Bible at the end. So there's some picture of me online. I'm just like holding it like a fucking nerd. But yeah, that was pretty surreal. Which bummed me out. They didn't actually use that for the Inside Edition version. So because I think the Inside Edition is like not even the same font. So, and
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
just me. This
I
is just
still
me
have
being
it.
like,
I'm still happy to
yeah,
have it.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But I'm one, like, if you're not only am I Kevin Smith fan, but I'm also a designer. And when I see something that's like, when I see a continuity error, I'm like, so not having it, not having it. So yeah, I'm
Oh,
I'm weird. Dude, I'm weird. I mean, like me and some other designers, we just like we can talk about complaining about like typography and font face errors like for an hour.
oh yeah, and
So
I mean, I kind of self-deprecate, but I used to call myself like a nitpicky prick in my reviews, my toy reviews.
yeah.
If the wrong like
Well,
logo on the
actually, that that,
shirt
that
or like
That's how
yeah.
I remember. That's how I remembered you, because Diamond Select, and it was a nitpick for me because it actually made me not want to buy the toy, because for the Jay and Silent Bob Clerks edition, Silent Bob was taller than Jay, and I didn't find that out
Hmm.
until I saw your review, and I was like, tisk tisk tisk. I mean, it's not a huge fucking difference, but like Jay's always been slightly taller than Silent Bob. So it's just like, why is Silent Bob Tyler than Jay? That makes no sense.
Yeah, that happens
So
with action figures all the time. If
yeah,
if you look at, I mean, I love the Black Series, but there's a lot of height inconsistencies there.
that's the thing. That's the thing that drives me.
Pops,
Yeah,
I have
I wish
the
I
Killer
would.
Clowns pops are like the
Yeah.
wrong heights and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I trust me. I'm a consistency guy. I wish I could display, like, I love NECA, just because I feel like that's the only way I can collect mini versions of Hot Toys that are affordable, because they're so like detailed and everything. But when I look at, I wish I could display them all together. I just wish they would all be like in the same like universal, like, height and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I love
So
NECA too. Uh,
yeah.
and in fact, I had one of the NECA guys on this show, so I'm not speaking on
Oh,
the company,
was
but
it Trevor?
it was not.
Oh,
It
okay.
was Blaine Rodenbaugh.
Okay, gotcha. You
Um,
should you should have you should have Trevor on this show. I'll
hey,
do an introduction. He's a great dude. So
sounds great. But no, but let's say if you're looking at just specific movie series and that height, but then when you take all of them and you put like your Ninja Turtles and your Terminator, and you start to go, hey, wait a minute,
yeah, yeah.
this
Well,
doesn't.
especially the Gremlins.
Yeah,
So
but here's the thing: certain things like I don't. You don't want a gremlin to be like this fucking big if you want it to be to scale with all the other
that
ones. You
that's true. That's when
same
you
thing
get the
with like
super.
Alf.
If you
Like Alf
if
needs
you
to be that.
That's when you gotta go. That's when you have to start mixing, and it doesn't quite match, but you're like, it looks accurate. Like I've always thought, I was like, maybe I'll get the Super 7 Gremlins, so then that way they're in scale. The reaction figure version. But
Yeah, like if you got the Gremlins, they're fine on their own. It would be like if they made a Billy Peltzer, then all of a sudden you're gonna have a problem.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah, because the Gremlins themselves are not that much bigger than a Mogwai. I think maybe like double the size of a Mogwai.
I think
Man,
I
we're
think
gonna we're gonna get all scientific about
they did
fictional
sort. I don't
fictional
want to.
monsters.
They didn't like correct it, but I know that they made like a because they obviously made their Mogwai figures, their Gremlins figures, but they made like an
Yeah.
accessory pack, and one
Oh
of the
yeah, yeah,
accessories
yeah.
that came with was the little car, the Barbie car, and
That's
a
right.
to scale gizmo. And I'm like, that's actually you could put that with like Stripe, and they're the right size.
They're the right size. You're right.
But
That
that's like the
was cool.
one. That's like the one they did.
The one they did, yeah, yeah, and that's such a great like iconic scene, which I was like, I'm glad that they threw that in there as a bonus. I love the. Now that I think about it, I love the one accessory pack they did for Pennywise, like the one where they included the actual sewer grate. Fantastic. So,
I have
um,
regrets that I never got the accessory pack for Nightmare on Elm Street.
which one was that one?
It's got an Elm Street sign, then the crooked Elm Street sign from five. But the best thing about it
Oh,
is it's got the giant snake Freddy from part three,
part three.
and then it's
Yeah,
got the
yeah.
TV with the arms and the primetime bitch face.
Oh, yeah, that I remember when they released that one. That one was good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck. Yeah, I wish I would have gotten the maybe they'll re-release these, but I wanted to get the video game colorways that they did of Freddy and Jason.
oh yeah.
Those were cool.
We
Yeah.
have we have the video game of Batman where he's all purple and blue from the '89 Batman game.
So good. I love that NECA did that. One of my favorite ones that the moment I saw it, I was like, I can't pass it up. It was the Godzilla one. The Godzilla one is just gorgeous. It's just like these really awesome, vibrant greens. It's just mwah. So, yeah, man, maybe in a future episode we should do like a Hellboy one. I can show off all my Hellboy toys.
Yeah, I have
Uh,
I have a shit ton.
so he's my favorite hero. Spawn was kind of sort of like my gateway into that. Like everybody says like, oh, Batman, Spider-Man. For me, the moment I saw Hellboy, it was love at first sight. And I'm looking over there because they're all over there. So, but yeah, dude, I would love. I don't know if this can happen, but did you do an episode in Afterlife or in Ghostbusters in general?
No.
This is for your movie. This I know we're talking about toys right now, but I would love to come on here and talk about. We can make it a twofer because I have a lot of Ghostbusters toys, but I would love to talk about Empire, Frozen Empire when it comes out with you. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't want to get my hopes up too early, but like feel like I'm probably gonna like that one.
I think so too because they've been kind of promoting it as a big version of a real Ghostbusters episode. I'm like, I am down.
Yeah, I
I
don't know
am.
who's. I mean, at least based on the production photos and the trailer and everything, I'm like, I don't know whose idea it was to lean into the real Ghostbusters of it all, but this feels like
It
you were
was Gil. It
pandering
was
to the kids who grew up on the real Ghostbusters and the toys, and I am ready to be pandered to. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, it was Gil Keenan who's a director of this one, and he directed one of my all-time favorite movies, which is Monster House.
Fucking
It's
love Monster House.
it's the
Ah,
one it's the one movie out of the weird Robert Zemeckis like motion capture period that actually it didn't like looked really like off-putting because the characters are like stylized and like enough and they look
yes.
great enough, and the story is really dark. Like sometimes when I have like nightmares about haunted house dreams and stuff like that, it's very reminiscent of the stuff that happens in that movie. That movie like goes all the way, and I love that they don't like hold back. But circling back to Kevin Smith, I love that Jason Reitman in the documentary Clerk he still has his little clerk stub that
Oh yeah.
that inspired him to be the filmmaker that he is because he didn't he didn't want to necessarily follow in the footstep of his dad, but when he saw Kevin and a bunch of other indie filmmakers from the time, it kind of spoke to him in his voice and in his generation. So it's kind of cool that in a weird way, uh, now there's Kevin Smith DNA in Ghostbusters. So,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So,
Well,
I love to see Kevin do more stuff. I mean, he did that show Reaper,
oh, I
and I
fucking
felt
loved Reaper.
yeah, and I felt like that had a lot of like cool paranormal Ghostbusters kind of DNA all over it. So it would have been, he talks about like, yeah, I almost did a Jay and Silent Bob meet Hellraiser, all this stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I want to see all those Jay and Silent Bob's like spin-offs now.
Yeah, I
So
remember I think it was after sometime after Strike Back.
yeah,
I think this is back when he had officially like closed the book in the Askew universe. I don't know if this is pre-Clerks 2 or not, but I think in one of the Evening with Kevin Smith DVDs, he talked
yeah,
about if they would ever did more Jay and Silent Bob. He's like, you can't keep doing Jay and Silent Bob. Like,
yeah.
what are we going to do? Jay and Silent Bob go to space?
Yes,
Someone
please.
said lunch and they thought launch. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I would fucking love Jay and Silent Bob go to space. Like,
It'd be
Dante and
amazing.
Randall can't go to space. Jay and Silent Bob can go fucking anywhere. And in fact, yes, they should hear
Yeah.
lunch and hit launch. Like that is the kind of movie it is. Like,
Yeah, I actually did you watch that Beavis and Butthead sequel?
yeah,
It was pretty great.
the streaming one where they like, yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty great.
yeah,
I actually that plot device is pretty fantastic, and feel like Kevin should use that too, like because like the way he writes his characters are very much still in the '90s, and I feel like oh yeah, that would be kind of hilarious.
you could
Like
the conceit of Strike Back to treat those characters as human cartoons and to be able to just have Will Ferrell do like a Wile E. Coyote fall, like that they run
yeah,
around a lot, like the fact that he recognized that they can be on just on their own fucking human
yeah.
cartoons to me means you could have them travel back in time, you could have them go to space, they could go on a European adventure, you could fucking do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, you could fucking do the J.J. Abrams treatment that he did to Star Trek to Jay and Silent Bob, where literally a different timeline is born and you recast Jay and Silent Bob, which I know a lot of fans are already like that's fucking sacrilege. But I mean, like I honestly like one of the things I told Kevin, like out of like as a fan, I just said like, at one point you're gonna have to like treat this as the MCU and hand your Universe off to other creatives to just like come up with new characters, expand on it, like have Jay and Silent Bob like do little cameos here and there. It can all still be View Universe, but I think like we need to expand on it. I mean, I as a creator and hopefully future filmmaker, I already made a short film. Hopefully I get to make more. I've like thought of ideas like I want to make a whole movie that takes place inside Movie Land, you know?
Oh,
So, you know, um, that's yeah. So,
I mean
so
that's
yeah,
its own like, and the cool thing about that is you aren't beholden if you don't want to be
yeah,
to completely original characters. You don't have to have it be like, well, Randall and Holden and the girls from Yoga Hosers all have to work there. Like, no, you just the setting is movie world and
you
the
could literally
characters are completely original.
you could literally have a bunch of new characters and they could like there could be like how they treated the Stan Lee cameo in Mallrats. You could have like a cameo of like some movie related character or like or maybe even Brody, like
Mhm.
like they bump into and it's like you fucking park rats. So yeah,
Well,
so
there's your
yeah,
title.
there you go, there you go.
Because
That's the
they got to be like annual pass holders, and that's all they do is you don't you just come around here, you just hang out all day.
that was the one thing that it just bugged me continuity wise, and I guess both movie land and Disneyland, both movie and Disney can exist in the same universe, but in Clerks 3 it really bugged me that they like referenced Disney, and I was like no, I'm like movie is the Mickey Mouse of the View Askew universe, both can exist.
Oh,
but but I mean, like I get it. Like Disney is big enough of a company and like it owns everything
well,
now.
yeah.
So I was
If
like,
Star Wars exists in Clerks and you're going to reflect what's happening to Star Wars, then yeah.
that's that's true. But wouldn't it be hilarious if Mubi owned Star Wars and then you could do a spin-off of Star
Ah,
Wars that's different? I don't know. I get too weird thinking about stuff. I'm like, it's not real. It's
okay.
okay.
But however, haha, Disney does exist
Yes.
because they talk about Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Mallrats.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Come on,
That's
everyone
right.
wants Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
That's right. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. Oh, good. You got
Mm,
me. You got me.
yeah.
You you save that one less sin for Clerks 3.
There
uh,
you go.
uh, and then yeah, of course, because like they have like so many fucking theme park stuff. I mean, there's the whole fucking Jaws ride, in that,
Hmm.
as well, and also like freaking Brody's fucking name. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, sir. You have
Oh yeah.
enlightened me.
Oh, I'm glad that thing can be stricken from the record for Clerks 3 there. So right on.
No, I can sleep at night now. Thank you.
I'm very happy I can help you with that. Well, thanks for joining me. This was a fucking blast.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, man. It was great just nerding out about all this shit. And thanks for letting me, splurge all my Kevin Smithness
No,
onto the
that's what.
screen.
Yeah, very welcome. It's what I wanted. I see all the Kevin Smith stuff you do, and I wanted to hear all about it.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you, sir. Until next time.
yeah, and because next there will be a next time. We'll be back because I'll have you on not only talking about at some point some Kevin Smith movie this year, but we're also going to be covering more Guillermo del Toro stuff.
Yeah, I would love to, man.
There will be
Absolutely.
more movies to discuss. So
There will be more stuff that I will talk to you about off show that hopefully we can talk about later in the year. So
oh, cool.
wink wink, little teaser for all you out there.
Right
So
on. So until next time.